India's long struggle with cross-border terrorism and indigenous radical networks unfolded dramatically yet again in November 2025. The Nowgam police station blast, where a cache of confiscated explosives erupted, killing and injuring dozens of personnel, opened a rare window into both the immense danger posed by advanced terror modules and the extraordinary heroism and sophistication involved in India's counterterrorism response. The blast was catastrophic not because of negligence, but because the security forces were facing a level of bomb-making skill and chemical ingenuity rarely seen in South Asia outside sophisticated war zones. This latest plot was averted only through meticulous surveillance, forensic intelligence, and the coordinated efforts of multiple Indian agencies, but at grave human cost. In the weeks leading up to the explosion in Srinagar, Indian intelligence had tracked the flow of chemicals, digital communication, and covert money trails to an unexpected epicenter hundreds of kilometers away, in Faridabad near Delhi. Here, officers made one of the largest seizures in recent memory: over 2,900 kilograms of explosives at an advanced stage of manufacture, stored and prepared by a network with shocking levels of technical expertise. These weren't simple fertilizer bombs or black-market dynamite sticks. Analysis pointed to high-yield, lab-synthesized compounds such as TATP, triacetone triperoxide, and potentially nitroglycerin-based mixtures, products of a technically literate terror cell operating on a scale comparable to those seen in global jihadist plots. Investigators were stunned to discover the involvement of white-collar professionals, including several doctors, who allegedly diverted medical-grade precursors, using legitimate procurement channels and scientific cover stories. This complicates the security environment. The enemy is no longer just bandits or exfiltrators from across the line of control, but highly educated, ideologically motivated citizens, capable of evading conventional profiling and procurement tracking. The chemistry underlying the seized cache spoke volumes about the lethality planned. TATP, infamously nicknamed the Mother of Satan by counterterror experts, is a primary explosive with a detonation velocity exceeding most commercial explosives and an extraordinary sensitivity to friction, shock, static electricity, and even ultraviolet light. It is synthesized by combining acetone, hydrogen peroxide, and a strong acid, typically under cool conditions to avoid runaway reactions. The final product, a white crystalline powder, packs immense destructive power even in small quantities. In larger stockpiles, TATP is so unpredictable that several kilograms stored together are prone to self-initiation through chain reactions, especially if impurity levels are high or temperature fluctuates. Nitroglycerin, another suspected compound, is also notorious for its instability. Synthesized by carefully blending glycerin with nitric and sulfuric acid, nitroglycerin was historically used in dynamite and has caused accidental explosions that wiped out entire facilities. The similarity to historic disasters, with chemical cues drawn from famous accidents in Europe and the Middle East, poses questions about information sharing between global jihadist networks and their South Asian affiliates. History is cluttered with tragic reminders of what can go wrong when unstable explosives are seized without proper procedures. The 2020 Beirut blast is etched into global memory. Ammonium nitrate, confiscated and forgotten in port warehouses, unleashed an explosion that flattened the city's heart, killed over 200, and injured thousands. In West Texas, a fertilizer plant incident produced a cloud and shockwave visible for miles, the result of unmonitored, aging chemicals combining unexpectedly. These examples are mirrored in the Nowgam disaster, not as acts of terror, but as consequences of the inherent risks posed by such substances in high volume and low stability. The Srinagar incident occurred, according to initial forensic reviews, during sampling for analysis. A minor spark or unnoticed pressure may have triggered the rooster tail of detonation. The ability of Indian forensic teams and bomb disposal units to forestall an even larger tragedy by containing the blast to a single site should not go unnoticed. The Faridabad Delhi terror plot was in an advanced, operational phase. Digital evidence, intercepted communications, and physical reconnaissance suggest the module was just days from executing a multi-pronged attack sequence, targeting not just soft civilian infrastructure but also core urban transportation, religious gatherings, and government installations. Partly informed by the lessons from Mumbai 2008 and the serial bombings in Indian cities like Jaipur and Pune, these terrorists intended to overwhelm first responders, create chaos through synchronized attacks, and draw international attention seconds before the Republic Day celebrations. The seizure of nearly 3 tons of advanced explosives forced a sudden tactical reassessment not only in the Union Home Ministry, but also among military planners. The National Investigation Agency, NIA, tasked with unraveling the full extent of the module, confirmed the pattern through a DNA match with the alleged ringleader Umar Nabi, establishing a clear linkage between professional radicalization, technical know-how, and operational readiness. It wasn't merely luck that prevented disaster. It was due to relentless SIGINT, cooperation across state police borders, and the rapid execution of search and neutralization warrants. India's security establishment responded with a blend of strategic flexibility and operational restraint. Domestically, all major cities went into high alert. Bomb squads and anti-sabotage units were deployed to transport hubs, religious sites, and government offices. The handling protocols for seized explosives were overhauled. Lessons from Nowgam and previous mishaps resulted in the development of remote handling robotics, chemical neutralization lines, and the decentralization of storage away from populated centers. New standard practices require that all suspected unstable compounds, especially primary explosives like TATP and nitroglycerin, be rapidly transported to isolated, purpose-built facilities for demilitarization or controlled detonation. Training programs were intensified for local police, focusing on chemical identification, field testing, and risk management under pressure. The Ministry of Defense has begun leveraging its extensive logistics apparatus to aid state police in emergency explosive transport, recognizing that time is often the sole factor between safe neutralization and catastrophic failure. At the operational and doctrinal level, the Indian military has moved to adapt its overarching counter-terror response for a new, standoff-oriented era. Following the precedent set by recent shifts in air power, where the acquisition or lease of platforms like the B-1B Lancer is aimed at extending the reach and precision of strikes, the Army and intelligence units are now incorporating standoff principles into domestic security. These changes reflect a doctrine less focused on physical occupation or border incursion, and more on disruption, denial, and preemptive neutralization. Special operations units, in coordination with intelligence agencies, now prepare to strike at identified terror nodes preemptively, using unmanned aerial vehicles, standoff precision munitions, and cyber warfare to disrupt communication and logistics before attacks materialize in the streets. These changes run parallel with diplomatic and economic pressure on external sponsors of terror, including the suspension of the Indus Water Treaty and the recalibration of intelligence sharing with traditional partners. Technology and big data analytics have also transformed the nature of counterterrorism in India. Monitoring the digital scent trail of radicalized professionals, police now work with AI-driven software that tracks anomalies in chemical procurement, cross-references them with social media indicators, and automatically alerts human analysts to potential clusters of danger. This next generation of counterterror doctrine is proactive rather than reactive, deliberately hunting for the invisible enemy embedded within society's educated elite as well as its disenfranchised. Working with friendly intelligence agencies, India is also developing protocols for the rapid sharing of real-time data on emergent explosive synthesis methods, seeking to stay ahead of the innovation curve that terrorist groups consistently demonstrate. Notably, as terrorists themselves exploit open-source chemistry journals and online communities, India's response is increasingly reliant on collaboration with the scientific and academic world, not only to spot signs of radicalization among students and graduates, but to better understand and preempt the chemistry of new compounds before they are used in violence. The public aftermath of the Nowgam blast and Delhi module bust has underscored the urgent need for public education on chemical safety, reporting suspicious activity, and understanding the non-traditional profiles of terror suspects. In highly technical societies, security doesn't just rely on the police and army. It requires awareness from pharmacists, logistics professionals, and average citizens alike. The willingness of India's highly regulated chemical and pharmaceutical industries to partner with security agencies has led to the launch of Safe Chemist initiatives, ensuring all bulk sales above threshold limits trigger automated notifications to local police, and buyers with dubious documentation are flagged for follow-up. While much of the counter-terror narrative in India focuses on cross-border infiltration and proxy warfare, these recent events demonstrate that the greatest threats may well be homegrown, cosmopolitan, sophisticated, and plugged directly into the digital and scientific mainstream. India's evolving doctrine increasingly recognizes this, blurring the line between external and internal threat response. Integration between the NIA, Research and Analysis Wing (RAW), and the new Joint Cyber Task Forces is now a top strategic priority, with a mandate to fight radicalization not just in the borderlands but in lecture halls, laboratories, and online forums. Nowgam stands as both a warning and a touchstone for the future. The heroism of those lost, their professionalism, composure under pressure, and ultimate sacrifice, has already led to substantial changes in how explosives are handled, how suspects are profiled, and how technology is deployed in the ongoing battle against terrorism. The cost was high, but the lesson clearer than ever. India's greatest defense now lies in its ability to anticipate, outthink, and neutralize its adversaries before violence erupts. From the chemistry of lethal compounds to the geopolitics of state-sponsored terror, the evolving fabric of Indian security is being woven with strands of intelligence, science, vigilance, and resolve, ensuring that tragedy is not repeated and that peace and order are restored with ever greater strength.